Hello and welcome back. I'm Claire Duff, leader of the Irish Baroque Orchestra, and today I'm continuing with another set of questions for the renowned Baroque violinist Rachel Podger, this time focusing on performance. Hello and welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see you again.
Can we start with you describing one or two of your most memorable experiences on stage?
Oh gosh, okay. So a very significant one for me was one of the first times when I played the C major solo sonata Bach, and it was in Canada. It was, and I did this amazing kind of residency at the Banff Centre, which is near Calgary in Canada, and they offer. I think it's slightly changed now, but then this is some time ago. This was like 97 or so. So you could go on a kind of 3-month or 6-month or a whole year, if depending on your scholarship, a kind of residency, and you could take time out from your professional job, your whatever you were doing, or from your touring, or if you were a composer, you would take time out to devote to a particular project, or if you, or you know, whatever you might want to do. Or lots of quartets went there to practice a particular for a particular project or a recording or so. Anyway, so I went there basically because I'd been running around a lot and touring a lot, and I really felt I needed to refocus. And I was also, I'd done my part 1 of my solo Bach recording already, and I was preparing for part 2, which involved the C major. And that was the only one that I hadn't performed as much as all the others. So I was kind of scared of it. And so I really went hard at it, head down, really went for it, and loved that period of intense study. And then there was the opportunity to perform it. So I did, and I did it from memory, which I hadn't really done with the others. And I was wearing a gold jacket for some reason. I don't know why. Black trousers and some gold jacket that I had with me. And they decided to spotlight me, because there was no music and stuff, so they could do that. So everyone else was in darkness. It was the most amazing hall with a big window at the back that showed the Rockies behind us. So it was an incredible backdrop. And because it was kind of evening time, it was kind of slightly pink. And so spotlight on me, and eyes closed, going for it. Anyway, in the fugue, and this, I know it's a cliche, but I literally, something happened, and I had a kind of out-of-body kind of moment where I actually saw myself as though I was, you know, in the kind of in the audience or somewhere up high, and I saw myself playing.
Wow.
The fugue. So I was however you might want to interpret it, I was either really in it, that I went out of it, or I was maybe had too much wine before. Actually, I don't think I did. Afterwards,
yes. I wouldn't say before the Bach you would have.
Not something that you would do. Or what else could have happened? No, I was on a musical high, put it that way, and I do put it down to the intensity of the study that I've been doing.
Yeah.
The fact that I wasn't in my normal surroundings, I was somewhere else, which was just incredibly inspiring and beautiful. Everything was about music. You know, at breakfast you'd be talking to composers and other instrumentalists, and people just being kind of engrossed in their project. And you could go to 3 concerts a day because there were performance opportunities. So it was a very intense 3 months. So maybe I put it down to that, but yeah, so that was very memorable.
Yeah, amazing, really amazing.
Yeah, I don't actually imagine kind of coming back into my body, so maybe I stayed out there for a while.
Yeah. Well, the piece is so intense as well. I suppose you probably just did reach another level, I don't know, in the zone of yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what it sounded like, but that was definitely an amazing experience. And the other one was a kind of, well, I mean, I've been very lucky to have been involved in lots of amazing projects, you know, with amazing conductors and But one that stands out was actually playing the Monteverdi Vespers with Andrew Parrott conducting, and it was my first time in the Royal Albert Hall. It was a prom, and it was with a lot of amazing people, so I felt this big. So I was playing second to Pavlo, and I think I was actually still at the Guildhall just about, so it was kind of early 90s. And so Nigel North was playing the lute, and John Toll, the late John Toll, was playing the organ, and Nigel Rodgers was singing, and Evelyn Tubb and Emma Kirkby was singing, and the most incredible alto, I'm just trying to remember who it was a Belgian guy, who I actually have not come across since, but it was just one of those moments where everything fell into place. And the other thing, of course, it was with Concerto Palatino, the Italian group. So with Bruce Dickey, most amazing cornet player, who you know, is one of the most experienced in his field and a fantastic teacher too. So that prom, that was really a very, very meaningful, very moving experience for me, just to be on stage with these people and to be making music with someone like Andrew Parrott in front of you, who's got the most incredible imagination and musical mind. And I do remember in the pub afterwards with Bruce Dickey, who we'd also been on tour, and so we kind of got to know each other a little bit. And I did ask him, you know, so how do you decide which ornament to do? You know, because every night you've been doing different ornaments. It's you know, I felt I could ask those questions. I was green, I was young, I was like the little one, the little naive one. And he said, he's actually, I told him about this the other day because we were in touch, and he said, I didn't say that, but I'll tell you anyway. So he said to me, well, the thing is, when I was studying, I was told to practice the same phrase, the same cadence in 100 different ways, you know, with 100 different kind of ornaments, you know, different rhythms, different directions of notes and everything. And yeah, so I did that for, you know, 4 years, and now I just have a lot of choice. And I was like, of course, I was very gobsmacked.
Yeah, cornet players are amazing like that. They can improvise so many creative different ornaments each time. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I've learned so much just from listening to cornet players.
Yeah.
And it's a different thing, isn't it? Because of, I guess what it has to do with it, you know, their repertoire is rather more restricted than our repertoire for violinists. We've got such a big span of repertoire. Aren't we lucky? Isn't that great? But because theirs is much smaller, that, you know, it's just more specific. They can really specialize on those particular things. Actually, what I give to a lot of my students is this fantastic a kind of compilation of ornamentation exercises that Jeremy West, a wonderful British cornet player, compiled for his students. Oh. And I asked him whether I could hand these on to my students, because just kind of 17th century note patterns and different ways of ornamenting intervals, for instance, which are all taken from treatises like Ganassi, you know, that amazing treatise with pages and pages of melisma and different ways of ornamenting. They seem to go up and up and up. Of course, it's written for recorder players, isn't it? But it's really worth just playing those through, you know. And I remember in a masterclass situation, it was on a course, we all sat in a circle and we just played them all together. So that I had a keyboard player just playing the cadence, you know, over and over. Yeah, get slightly glazing over, same cadence over and over. And there we were playing all the different ways, all the different ornaments. And then we had fun doing a little improv session where we had a kind of bass line going on, you know, repeated bass line. And then we took turns to improvise, whoever felt like it. And then we kind of disciplined it a bit, and for how many bars and who was going to do what. And so fun. And actually it opened so many doors to have something to read off first, because it gives you a kind of sense of security, because that's kind of how we're trained. You know, we learn from music, don't we? But they didn't do that in the old days. Much more of an oral tradition, but it gave people a lot of security to do that first. Just, okay, so I have something, I can take that away with me. I've got my copy and I can practice that at home. So for now I can just go completely wrong and play weird blue notes and it doesn't matter. You know?
Yes, yeah,
So
brilliant.
quite liberating.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yeah. Coming back to the flow and performance or something, can you describe what it feels? I know obviously each performance is a different experience, but what does it feel like to you when it's going really well and you're in the flow or you're in the zone? What does that feel like?
Oh, it feels like flying. It's just the best, just the best experience. And it happens when you're so in tune with everyone you're playing with. And, you know, everyone is flying at the same speed, and at the same time, everyone trusts each other, of course, and it's okay to do something that you haven't planned, and then you just kind of know that others will go with you. That's the best feeling, isn't it? It's just the best.
It's freedom.
Love that. Yeah, incredible. Yeah, kind of it's that slight paradox of knowing exactly where you are musically, and kind of knowing where you start, what the journey is, where you've got to get to, what kind of happens in the middle, and knowing where you can take the risks because you know the structure of what you're doing. And it normally happens after a few performances, doesn't it? It's quite rare to have that in the first performance of a program. Yeah, sometimes there are kind of moments of that freedom, but it's a bit more, okay, are we gonna, right, okay, right, yeah, and we got it, yeah, you know, there's those nice little corners, which are also very exciting. But it's not the same as flying, because you know exactly, you've got the kind of common ground in the group. And yeah, I mean, I remember coming off stage and just thinking, I just want to go back. Can we just do that again? And of course it would be different then. You don't want to leave it, you know?
Yes.
It's the best moment.
Yeah. Yes, and it's funny, obviously that's the uniqueness of live performance, but it's funny how you can never recreate the same experience. So sometimes you have a great experience and part of you wants to have that again, but you can never you can't be aiming towards, I suppose, recreating the same experience.
You're so right. Yeah, especially with the same program. It's so tempting, isn't it? You kind of get to the next place and you think, yeah, easy peasy, we know exactly what we're doing. But actually, well, in a way, you have to have that experience to know what that is like. Because you think you're doing the same thing. You're maybe going through the motions a bit more. And you think, okay, so what's missing? Why am I not getting, why didn't that work yesterday? Why is that not working now? What do I need to do? You know, you have all this conversation going on in your head. And the best thing to do in that moment is then just to take a step back and just go back to basics. Just read what is there. Just do, you know, read the language. And then things will happen again. Because if you go, as you say, if you go and try and recreate the experience, it doesn't work. You have to do it afresh each time, and that's why it's so exhausting. That's why it does require a lot of energy, but at the same time it's energizing, isn't it, and very enriching too. I mean, you know, sometimes after solo recitals, or I've done mad things like play all of the Bach concertos in one concert. I mean, I know there are only really two, but you know, other ones like the so-called harpsichord ones.
Yes.
In one concert, so the F minor in G minor, and then I also did the I did that one as well, which kind of makes you feel a bit like a viola when you start out. And actually, to be honest, that one was the least successful because it's quite hard to get through the texture. But it's of course wonderful to play, being Bach. But after a concert with 4 concertos does require a certain amount of energy, because yes, there's nowhere to hide, of course, and you are you're bearing everything. You're bearing your soul and your heart, and trying to do the right thing and impart the right message, and that requires energy. But at the same time, you know, when people say, "Gosh, aren't you exhausted?" and I say, "Well, yeah, but you're on a high, and you're on a musical high, because you feel so enriched by the content, you know, by the content of what you've just tried to help deliver." So there's, I always go back to the, again, it's like kind of cliche idea of the fact, the slight paradox of being a channel, you know, for the music to flow through. So you could interpret that as feeling that you're empty, but you're not, because of course the fact that it's flowing through you enriches you so much.
And how do you look after yourself in terms of, so, you know, after the performance there's the high, but presumably the next day or at the end of the tour there's the exhaustion, there's the low of having given so much.
Absolutely. Well, there are different ways of doing that. I mean, the best thing is sleep. You can't beat sleep. And sometimes it takes a while till you get to that point, because you've got to travel first. So, I mean, I tend to shut off a little bit, actually. So when I'm traveling, I just, you know, put my shades on and I just close off, and try not to react, because it's very tempting to get kind of a bit stressed with the travel, you know, dropping stuff and not finding its ticket, or, you know, where did I put my phone, or, you know, just getting too involved in that. And what I've learned over the years is just to be quite detached, just let it all kind of flow.
So you're basically conserving your energy that way.
Yes, definitely. And make sure you eat some protein, not too much coffee, otherwise you get jittery. Eat protein, have a banana, get home, don't do the washing up. Just go to bed.
Brilliant.
Well, if you can, obviously, you know, a lot of the times I would be getting back and then pick up the kids from school. You know what it's like when having kids, and there are certain things and then you just have to just conserve your energy for that much longer.
Yes.
And then you get your early night, and then it does take time to recover, I think, from a long tour, especially if you're jet lagged. It really does take time. It takes its toll, I think. And it's not just that, it's also the whole psychology of it, you know, because as we know, it's just not like real life. You don't have to take the bins out, and you don't have to look after anyone when you're on tour. It's very easy to look after yourself, especially if you do have a family. But even as a young person, at first, of course, going on tour was like, great time, you know, let's hang out, let's get
party time.
Party time. You go to bed late because you can cope with these things. But then quite soon, partly because of the things that I had to do, like have a lot of responsibility as a leader or playing concertos and stuff, you just adapt to it, and then you realize that you actually, what's important is to get your practice time in. It's very easy on tour to stop practicing. But of course, if you have things to do, then you can't. So, and I used to really appreciate that. Actually, what I used to do when I was leading for the English concert for Trevor Pinnock, and I remember there was a particular tour to the Far East, and we did have some free days, but it was a fairly strenuous schedule for me. Kind of 3 programs. I was doing the seasons, and then I was doing Grosser as well in another program, and then we were doing Brandenburg 4, and, you know, just kind of stuff that you needed to practice, basically, and constantly on top of it. So I remember getting into a habit of so we do the concert, get back on the bus, everyone else would be going out drinking. If I went along and then just stayed for a little while, it just didn't work, because you feel like you're missing out, or you stay longer than you think, and then it's all screwed. So I'd just have to be really disciplined and boring, just go back to my room and not even talk. See you in 5 minutes, I'm not in on that conversation. So I'm just boring, go back to my room, get my violin out before I relax and actually practice for the next concerto the next day.
After having done a concert?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, if you've had a little break because you've had the you know, getting back and everything, and you've come down a little bit from the concert already, and also psychologically, you know, you've got to do something different the next day. So rather than kind of relaxing, partying, putting it out of your mind, doing something completely different, like, you know, social stuff, being in touch with home and all of that, I delay that. So I'd first do my work, as in prepare for the next concert. Then I would relax, sleep, probably sleep in, do a little very concentrated practice of the bits that I really need, and then do the next day.
Wow.
And that worked really well, actually, because something about putting something to sleep, you know, putting the hard bits or just mentally the stuff under your pillow,
Yes.
And then you just feel very differently about it the next day, however well you know it.
Yes, yes, yes. Being able to sleep on it makes a big difference.
Yes,
yeah.
It's really good. Yeah.
Brilliant. And how, what about our inner critic, which, yes, can be useful for practicing and noticing all what needs to be improved. But obviously, when you're on stage, you need to kind of quieten that voice down. How do you manage with that?
Well, of course, I've had my fair share of inner critic and still do. It's very, very difficult to completely get rid of that. I think the first step to dealing with that is to recognize it, that is there. Some people are more aware of it than others. I think some people are really consumed by it, and whatever they're doing on stage, it's omnipresent and it really interferes. So I think if that happens, the best thing to do is to first of all practice performing at home. And so try and imagine that you're in a kind of scenario of, okay, so the audience is there, the green room's over there, and, you know, just kind of physically imagine it, how it is. Okay, I'm coming on now. I can hear the applause. Okay, bowing. Oh yeah, feeling a bit sweaty. Right. You know, you just kind of go through all of that, and then you pretend like you're performing, and then just to see, okay, what happens? Where does it set in? And then when you notice it, just a bit, it's the kind of thing that they teach you in meditation. It's exactly the same process. You don't crush it, but you observe it and you let it go. You see it, you recognize it, and you just say, bye, you're not me. I am not you. You can go somewhere else. So it's this kind of inner detachment. And that takes a lot of practice, I think, with anything, with public speaking, with any kind of responsibility that you might have, and especially with performing. And especially when you're tired, jet lagged, or you feel kind of under pressure, or there's some kind of weird dynamic going on in the group, or it could be so many different things, couldn't it? Or you suddenly realize that your arm aches because you carried your suitcase just you know, the lift didn't work, or, you know, it could just be anything that could just throw you just like that and distract you. And to have the kind of emotional stability, because it is emotional too, isn't it, and the inner strength to actually say, okay, yeah, that's out there, my core is here, my core is fine, even if I make a mistake, it's fine, my core is fine, I'm just gonna let that go. And then I mean, the best advice that I got from David Takeno, who I studied with at the Guildhall, was and I say this to a lot of my students, is literally, it's a very, very easy concept, but it works every time. So you leave your life, whatever's going on, you leave that at the stage door. You come on and it's just you and the music and the audience. And it's incredible. It's incredibly liberating. It's wonderful. It's really worth trying, because you just feel like, oh, so what a relief. I don't have to think about when the washing machine is going to be delivered right now. Or whatever it might be, you know, whether we've run out of milk, or maybe I should get some milk on the way home, or who's just texted, you know, all the life stuff. You just leave that behind, and you have this incredible opportunity for this break.
Mm.
It's such a privilege that we have that.
Yes, that's a really good way of viewing it, isn't it? Sort of seeing it as a break from life, as opposed to the spotlight's on me. I'm in this pressurized environment. I mean, obviously you perform in very pressurized environments. I suppose even maybe sometimes it can be even more pressurized the more successful you are, because then it's like, oh, you know, you've just got an award, the Gramophone award.
You're up there, people are seeing you there, and the only way is like down. It's like, you know, when you see those interviews with tennis players, you know, and they've just won a prize, they've just won Wimbledon, you know, and where from here? Where do you go from here? Oh, well, the only way is down. You think, oh, don't think about that. You know, I always find that really depressing. I can see what they're saying. I mean, I don't really see music like that, but there is that thing. I remember someone saying to me after a particularly nice concert, we were on tour, so I can't remember where it was, but someone saying in jest, you know, the banter kind of stuff, oh, Rachel, the only way down is the only way is down. Now you're only as good as your last concert. Do you know you're only as good as your last concert? I'm going, It's so true though. We are all very we're kind of wired to be musically ambitious, aren't we?
Yeah.
Whatever scenario, you know, whether it's a rehearsal or the next concert, or striving for the next thing, or making a program, you know, there's always this kind of sense of wanting to employ the best solution, and to use your imagination to get the best out of people in a rehearsal, or to inspire people in the audience to communicate the story as well as you can. You know, there's always an ambition there somewhere. Yeah.
And do you use, you mentioned meditation, do you use techniques such as meditation or Alexander technique or anything to support your practice?
Definitely, yes. I do yoga. I find yoga really helps. I've got a kind of routine that I call boga. Bow yoga that I do with my students as well, which involves a lot of kind of exercises like kind of loosening the wrist, like kind of wall painting and lots of circles. I've actually been doing some Zoom sessions with boga with students at the Academy of Music in London, and also at the Welsh College, and then a few people wanted some sessions, and it is a bit like meditation, because it's kind of repeated movements like in yoga or Pilates or any of those, but it's really focused on string playing. So I basically do that as my warm-up. Okay. And I've also got a few exercises that I do that are kind of just inspired from other things like Alexander technique or a bit of Feldenkrais, just because I've been to lots of different kind of classes and witnessed lots of different things and taken part, and so I've kind of made up my own little thing. There's some really good kind of pre-concert ones that include the figure of 8. So this is what I'll show you one. I learned this one from Emma Kirkby. So we were doing a recording session, and we were involved in the same recording session, and I knew her a little bit, and she was in the corner. It was in a big cathedral somewhere, and she was in the corner doing something, and I just wanted to see if she needed a drink or something, and I went over and I saw her doing this thing, and I was like, oh, what's she doing? She's like doing this kind of moving thing, and so I didn't start, and I asked her later, and then she showed me. Basically, you clasp your hands together like this, and you have your thumbs like that, and then you describe a figure of 8 on its side in front of you, and you follow it with your eyes very slowly, kind of like this. So it's basically the figure of 8 kind of on its side.
Oh, that's also the eternity symbol. Is that right?
It certainly is. And what it's meant to do, you're always meant to go up first. And what it does, it links, or it connects both sides of the brain, because you know how they can become rather disparate, the kind of creative side and the academic side, you know, or the intellectual side, or whatever you want to call it. And anything that crosses over, you know, other movements like your right arm and your left leg, you know, those kind of movements. Anything that bridges the gap and connects things physically can really help this connect too, so I'm told. And it really works for me, especially this lovely calm figure. I just love this figure of 8 thing. It's really good before a concert. And you need to involve your breath too, so you're kind of you've got this kind of calming effect on your breathing.
And you have your hands together, but your arms aren't together. It's just the hands.
No, your arms are just kind of there, just kind of quite relaxed. Yeah, you do this thing.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lovely.
Yeah, that's a really nice one.
I'm definitely gonna try it.
No, it's a great thing to do anytime, actually. You know, especially when you're jet lagged, you just, I don't know about you, but I always feel a bit kind of disconnected from things.
Yeah.
And you kind of walk into doors and stuff. Well, I do. Because you're not quite there, you know. And so that just helps, all of those things, especially first thing when you get up. And the idea with the eyes, that comes from yoga. The fact that you're kind of moving your eyes and following the shape, that massages your brain.
Wow.
So that's really useful too for thinking.
Yeah. And I do a bit of Feldenkrais, and they often do different sort of exercises with the eye. It's fascinating how relaxed the rest of you can be after you've done some little simple movements with the eyes. It's amazing how interconnected we are. Yeah, it's amazing.
You're so right. Yes, I haven't done the Feldenkrais eye thing, but you know Alison McGillivray, I'm sure you do. She's done she's a Feldenkrais teacher, and while she was learning, she tried some things out on us sometimes, and we would teach on the same course, and she actually did a kind of half-hour session with whoever wanted. The only thing is, it was always after lunchtime, and if you were lying on the floor, people just dropped off and started snoring.
Yeah, that's always a danger.
Hilarious. And she was always so sweet about it. She said, "Doesn't matter if you fall asleep," you know, this lovely sing-song voice. And I was just a fan. You know. The things that I remember from that, you know, very small movements, repetitive movements, all very, very slow. But the fact that you're actually, just concentrating on the one thing, as you just said, you know, with the eye, it woke up so many other things. Yeah. And it made you alert in a completely different way. I was so surprised.
Yes, I've done a lot of Feldenkrais classes, actually, where I have to admit I've zoned in and out, almost fallen asleep and come back. And I thought, oh, maybe I've missed half the class. And at the end, I stand up and everything has realigned in a different way. It's like, I find it kind of magical. But you're grounded, and things have opened up, or it's just things are properly realigned, or it's fascinating.
Yes, things definitely shift, don't they? So I think, and Feldenkrais is a really amazing therapy, I think, to do. Just knowing a few key things that you know will help you to do before a concert, I think is really good. And also to, you know, because often we're in a situation where everyone's in the same green room and people are getting changed and others are joking and someone's brushing their teeth and someone's practicing the hard bit, and you know, it's cacophony and it's not very calm. And if you can create a kind of sense of calm just within yourself, even though you're surrounded by noise, I think that is a really, really great thing to be able to do. It's hard, it's really hard to do, because sometimes you just want to, you know, get excited about the concert or about something or who's there or whatever, and you're chatting away and you're outside of yourself, really, which is not the best preparation for performing, is it? Because we need to be really self-possessed in the best sense and be very self-aware in order to be open and ready to give. So something that I like to do, actually, which requires no sound, is literally just drawing the bow above the string, like this much above the string, just really, really slow, and normally with eyes shut. And then if people go past you and they think, oh, okay, leave her right alone. I'm not going to interfere with this weird thing she's doing. Probably leave you alone, think you're a weirdo. But it's so great to do. Or if you you know, it's also really good to do at home if you don't want to disturb someone who's sleeping next door or in a hotel room or something, and you just feel jittery, and you just need to do something to center yourself. It's a great one to do. And what you'll find when you first do it is that when you get to about here, kind of just above the middle of the bow, you'll go woo, just kind of go off, and you then learn to steady that by rebalancing your hand on the stick, and also really pay attention to not lifting the shoulder, of course, and keeping all of this really relaxed, but obviously not collapsing. You're still holding, but it's a kind of relaxed hold, if that makes sense. And the only thing that you're really thinking of in terms of proper holding is the stick. So carrying that along there, and I find that really focuses everything that needs focusing, especially if you're starting the concert with a long, slow note.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. That's amazing. Really, really enjoyable, and I've learned a lot from today. I hope we'll get to play together. Well, hopefully we will in 2020.
We will. I'm sure we will. I look forward to it so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Not at all. Thank you.